credit management. And over the past 20 years, our experts have helped thousands of families conquer their debt. What we do is work with you and your creditors to find a customized solution to your finances. Isn't it time you took control of your financial future? As one of the nation's largest nonprofit credit counseling agencies, we're trusted experts who can really help. But you must take the first step.
Hey, good evening. We are back again for another show. My name is Letitia Griffin, and I'm here today to talk to you about any problems that you may have regarding your debt, regarding finances, regarding any types of issues that you may have regarding your credit, and trying to keep things maintained and in order. So for the next 25 to 30 minutes or so, I'll be here to answer any questions that you may have, and you can call in at 312-738-1060 and ask any questions that you might have. Now, if you don't get the opportunity to call in, or you're a little shy, you don't want to hear yourself over the air, that's totally fine. You can contact a counselor at Family Credit at 800-994-3328, and they are on standby to answer any questions that you may have. Also, I want you to pay attention to the website, familycredit.org. It's listed there, and it is one of the best resources ever. The reason why I say this is because you can actually chat directly with a counselor, get some answers right now that will help you with your situation, that will help you deal with your creditors, your debt, anything that you may be experiencing. There's help out there, so you just need to make that call or go online and talk to a counselor, and that's really going to help. So right now we are in the midst of the holiday season, and you see a lot of people out there just really concerned about the holidays and how they were going to pay for things and gifts that they should buy. And a lot of times that leads us to thinking about, how are we going to do it? How are we going to make it and maintain? And I wanted to talk a few minutes on that because right now, sometimes the holidays are seen as a season where people become sad, depressed, and I just want you to know that it does play on your health. So you want to make sure that you have your finances in order, that you're thinking about the right things when it comes to your finances, and you're using that to discipline yourself and make things better for your overall financial situation. So what are the things that you want to focus on? You want to focus on your credits, your credit portfolio, your score, everything involved in that, making sure that you are making the most of your income. That's really going to help. And making sure that you have a great banking relationship as well. So those are some of the components that you want to look at. Not necessarily focusing on the gift that you're going to give or trying to overextend yourself, because we see a lot of times where a lot of people are struggling during the holiday seasons and they make bad financial choices. They may purchase gifts that they aren't able to afford, or they may fall into the vicious cycle of trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing and go out there and get payday loans and find themselves in this cycle as well. So we've got help for you out there, and you can reach out to a counselor if you need help dealing with any of those issues, or you just want to share your situation with us. We're here to help you and give you great advice on that as well. Another thing that a lot of people are thinking about right now is it's the end of the year, and here in Illinois, actually in Chicago, coming up. Right now we're in the month of December, but guess what? In the month of January, it's noted as the month where people are actually looking to rent the most. We've got that happening in January and in August in the Chicago area. So right now, if you're looking to move or you're thinking about it, this is the time where you want to take a look at your finances, and we'll talk about that in a little bit and just get more and more into what you should actually be paying attention to during this season. We've got our first caller though. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thanks for being on Kansas City. Here's a question for you. Every year, I think there's some things that we all can do to help improve our financial situations. Could you go over a few of those, maybe refresh my memory? And I'll get off the air and let you answer.
I'm sorry, can you restate your question? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry. I just wanted you to go over more of like a in-list form. What are some of the things that just people in general can do to, at this time of year, to sort of jumpstart their career or give it a good dose of spinach, like Popeye, to make it really strong for next year?
That's a really great question that you bring up. So we'll go over that. So some of the things that you can do to actually make things better for next year, we'll talk about as well, which is taking a look at your financial health. That's the number one thing that you can do. And so we'll go over some ways to take a look at your financial health and make sure you are okay for next year. Because right now, this is the time where you're thinking about what's your next year going to be like. You're setting up your goals, and right now is the time for you to actually go into that. So when you're thinking about that, we'll take a look at that in a sec. I'll answer your question in one moment, but looks like we've got another caller coming through. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. I just had a question. A debt collector called me about an old debt that I have, but I don't see it on my credit report. Do I still need to pay that?
Ooh, that's a really great question as well. So we'll answer both of those questions right now. So the first caller actually asked about jump starting for the next year. What are some things that you need to pay attention to? And basically, you do need to take a look at your budget. Make sure that you are accounting for the money that you actually bring in. And a lot of times when we look at our budget, we figure our budget off of our gross income. We're thinking, okay, we're making $50,000 a year, or we're making $100,000 a year, or we're bringing in, all this money. And once we get our actual paycheck, it's not the case. We see that there are some things that we didn't even think about as far as taxes, insurance, all of these things that come out of our checks. So that's why when you're focusing on your budget, you need to actually focus on your net income. Great place to start. Then next, you want to take a look at your credit. Make sure your credit is together. You want to maintain a strong credit with scores ranging from 350 to 850. You want to have your score as close to 850 as possible. And I'm sure we'll go over some more tips on how to maintain your score and make sure that your score is working for you. And you have to do the work, like I said, and discipline yourself to stay within your budget and make it count on your credit score. Another thing that you want to take a look at is actually your tax situation as well. Have you filed your taxes? Is there anything outstanding against you? Do you owe the IRS? So those are things that you want to look at as far as making sure that you are financially sound for the next year. And then after you've done all of that, you want to see if there's any discretionary income left in your budget so you can make that work for you by looking at maybe ways that you can invest in yourself, in your career, and just in financially to make sure that you are bringing in some sort of surplus each and every single month. Our last question the gentleman asked, basically, when you're dealing with your credit report and a lender or creditor collection agency contacts you and say you owe this bill, but you don't see that bill on your credit report, what should you do? Now, that's a good question that a lot of people face because you get so many calls sometimes saying that they are trying to collect money from you, and you want to make sure that you are not the victim of a scam. So if you see something on your credit report, you do want to look at all three of your credit bureaus, try to identify that account. Now, keep in mind that that person is calling you, they're harassing you daily. You may have gotten letters or emails. Most likely, sometimes you get those really crazy, wonky emails from people saying that you owe money, right? And you have no idea who they are. So what you want to do in that case is take some time and figure out where are they calling you from and is it legit? You can actually take down the number of the person that's contacting you. Take down their phone number, whatever they give you. Take down the number that's showing up on the caller ID because sometimes they can be different. Ask the name of the agency that they're calling from, who they are, and who their supervisor is. Take all of that information, do your research. Nowadays, we've got technology. We can use the internet to our advantage in this situation. Do a Google search. See if that collection agency comes up. And you can see what their record is, how they treat their clients, and know more about how you can protect yourself. Now, if you find that you can't pull that agency up, guess what? That may be a scam. You may not owe anything to them, and they're just trying to get you to give them money for no reason. So, that case, you want to take that same information, write it down, and you do want to report them to the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau and start an investigation there. So, we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Looks like we've got another caller. Hi, welcome to the show.
I have a question.
Okay.
I was late on a few of my cards last month and my score dropped a lot. Do you know a fast way I can get that back up?
The best thing that you can do is just to resume making payments. Now I want you to keep in mind, when your score falls, your score doesn't fall right away if you miss a payment. If you miss one payment on your credit report, on your credit cards, and you make that payment up the next month, you should be safe and it should not affect your credit score. But if you miss 2 payments, that's when that's going to be reported to the credit bureaus and your score is going to have some effect. Now, I know it may seem weird, but what I am saying is that your accounts do not report that they're past due until you actually go 2 full months past due. That's right. So you've got 60 days to get things back in order. So if you miss one payment, then do what you can to make it up. Maybe pay your minimum payment and then a little bit more towards that after that until you get to the amount that you're past due. Talk to your creditors. Try and work out arrangements with them. Sometimes if they know you're going through something, they have some options to help you as well. And also, if you've got to the point where you don't want to talk to your creditors, you're not sure what to say, you're not sure how this should be handled because you feel overwhelmed, that's when you should reach out to a counselor and get advice on how to deal with your creditors. They can tell you like what to expect from your creditors, how to set up arrangements, and they can help you with that, dealing with them to avoid collections. So that's some really great tips, some resources that you can use to your advantage. Remember that a lot of those things that we suffer with, we may feel like we're going through it alone at the moment, but there's so many people out there that are going through the same exact thing that you are going through and that can benefit from what you're going through as well. So don't be afraid to reach out, find the resources, find the help, and just ask because there is help out there, especially with dealing with your creditors. So again, we were talking about some different ways to make sure that your finances stay under control. And again, this is the busiest season. We're leading up to it being the busiest month for renting in Chicago, Illinois. So you want to focus on whether you should actually get yourself together, whether you should rent, whether you should buy. What are some things that you are looking to do within next year? So if you missed in January, August is the next season coming up for buying and renting. So when you're thinking about whether you should buy a home or whether you should rent, a lot of times that decision, is based off of how we feel and how we feel about the actual home that we're looking at, the community, whether we should rent an apartment or rent a house. It plays a lot on our emotions, but we also need to make sure that we're taking a look at our finances to make sure that we can afford it too. I always say, one of the things that I like to think is that when you're dealing with someone and you're trying to decide whether you want to buy your home or whether you should continue renting or if you should look for a new place to rent, you want to think that no matter what, you need to pay for your living expenses. You're going to be paying to rent. So essentially, you're paying a mortgage for someone anyway. So why shouldn't it be for you? Think about that. Now, when you're looking at whether you should rent or not, think about also how long will you be living there? Is this a move that you're looking to do every year? Do you think you can get along with the neighbors there? Think about those types of things on whether you should rent or whether you should buy. Now, if you feel like you're looking to settle down, you're not ready to move, you don't want to move next year, you don't want to keep that cycle going, and you do want to actually buy, that's what you want to think about. Think about, can you afford the payment? And can you afford if something else were to happen? How are you going to make sure you're covered for emergencies as well? And sometimes these are some things that we can control. So, like I said, you're paying mortgage for someone. Shouldn't it be for you? You want to keep your, one of the good things about paying a mortgage though is that it keeps your costs consistent. You typically know what you're paying each and every single month. And also keep in mind that mortgage interest is something that's right now you can deduct off of your taxes up to $10,000. And rent is never such. You really can't write off rent, no matter how you try. So think about that as well. Again, when you're looking at whether you should rent versus buy, pay attention to your income. Make sure you can afford the payment. Also, keep in mind that with a mortgage comes taxes and insurance. And then you want to make sure that you have your taxes together. Big red flag is if you don't have your taxes together, there's no way you will be allowed or able to get a mortgage if you have not first, filed your taxes, and second, if you've got something showing up or any tax liabilities, you need to take care of it. And not necessarily saying that you have to pay it all off, but you do need to make payment arrangements and make sure that they're in place with the IRS before you can purchase your home. So we've got, you're thinking about it emotionally, how it affects you. You're thinking about, can you afford it in your income, making sure your taxes are done. And then, of course, we want to look at our credit to make sure that our credit is allowing us to qualify for a home. Looks like we've got another caller. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, I had a question. So I have some old medical bills that are still showing up on my credit report for whatever reason. Do you suggest that I dispute them?
When you're dealing with medical bills, it all depends on how old they are. And a lot of times if you're going for financing and it's a medical bill, it's not factored into your overall credit the way that you would think. Now it's there, it's a bad mark, and it affects things, yes. But the older they are, of course, the less effect they have on our score. And why is that? Because when we think about our credit score only looks at the last 24 months worth of history. But the report has all the detailed information for years and years to come. So if you're thinking about, okay, whether you should pay off those medical bills or not, look at the date first. Think about how long it's been since you made a payment. Have you talked to them? Have you set up arrangements with them at all? And if it's over 24 months, then you might want to look at paying your other debts first. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay those medical bills, but tackle the other problems first and then go back if you have some extra money and if you feel like you can comfortably afford it, then you can look at taking care of those medical bills. Also keep in mind, if you are receiving anything harassing from those collectors, and your balances are quite large, then there may be something that you want to look at and see possibly if you can go back to the hospital or medical facility to see if you can get help with paying those balances and see if you qualify for charity assistance. It's out there and it's there to help. So if you are struggling with your medical bills, that's something that you want to look at. Also, you can talk to the collector as well and see about setting up payment arrangements with them. And keep in mind, if you've got a medical bill that's shown on your report and it's $90, you pay $10 next month, it's going to show that that bill is $80. So each month your balance is going to be decreasing and it's going to improve your score over time. So it really depends on you, your goals, and what you're looking to do. Remember, older accounts, they matter less and less as you go and you're trying to improve things. So that's your rule of thumb when you're dealing with those medical bills. And just keep in mind, for new medical bills, with the regulations that just went into effect, guess what? New medical bills take longer to be reported on your credit bureau, and they have to not be receiving payments for at least 6 months before they can even be reported to the credit bureau. So with that being said, if you got medical bills now that you don't want to see go to collections, make sure that you put something down on them each and every single month, even if it's $5 or $10 to the doctor, to the medical facility, to the hospital. That's going to keep that bill in house and avoid it from affecting your credit report and your score. Looks like we've got another caller. Hi, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi. I just have a question. I was wondering, I wanted to actually get my credit score, and I don't know a lot about that, so I wanted to know, how do I actually get my credit score and my credit report?
Okay. Now, the best way for you to get your credit report is to go to annualcreditreport.com. I see so many people that are using different websites and trying to get their free scores and free reports, and they end up paying for it. You don't want to do that. So go to annualcreditreport.com. That's the one place to get all three bureaus, all three scores in one place. Now, the bureaus and the reports themselves are free. You may have to pay a little bit for the score, but it shouldn't be too much. But if you're going directly to the credit bureaus, and that's what you need, you can do that once a year from each bureau, which means you get 3 reports: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, all in one place. You don't even have to go to different websites. Just go to annualcreditreport.com and you'll be able to log in, create an account, and be able to go back in, every single year and pull your report from there. So think about doing that. Now, there's a lot of different tools that people are using nowadays for their credit report as well. And I see people, of course, using Credit Karma that's out there, Credit Sesame. People are looking at Free Credit Profile. You want to be careful of the different types of scores that are being made available as well, because they're not coming directly from the credit bureau, so they're not going to be as accurate as if you went to the credit bureau or annualcreditreport.com directly. Keep in mind those debts like that, when you're going to the different places for the credit bureaus other than the credit bureaus themselves, that information is old and it is a little bit dated. So you may see changes in your credit report and your score, and they're not happening as quickly as you like. And that would be why, because you're looking at one of those other things that's not annualcreditreport.com, and you're getting just a little bit dated information. So it looks like we've got our next caller. Hi, welcome to the show.
And yes, thanks for taking the call. You always have wonderful information, you know. I mean, you really do. You're really on top of your game. 2 quick questions. Do you see more females searching for the resolve issues or try to make their credit a little bit better, or men? The way that I think, it looks like more men is always in a deeper shape than the females. But I'd like to know your perspective on that. You know what the second question was. You suppose they gave us a little hint where to invest in, and look, the year's over with, and you didn't show for the show. So if you got time, can you answer both of them? And sir, thank you for taking the call. Happy holiday to you and your family and all the listeners. Thanks for taking the call. Let me get out there so I can hear your response.
Thank you for calling in. And so, you did ask whether we see what gender most likely is out there trying to fix their report. And honestly, I see a great deal from both men and women alike trying to maintain their reports, trying to make things better. And so you don't necessarily pay, for me, I don't necessarily pay attention to who is doing it. I see a lot of couples and families investing together and trying to make things better for their overall family and their situation together. So I do see that. Then I have seen some men out there that are pushing to build a future and foundation and to establish a legacy. And you see the same thing for women that are looking to do the same thing and improve their career and overall settings. Right now, it's a great push for people to pay more attention to their financial situation, to what's happening around them and how those things affect them, and paying more attention to your credit report. It used to be years ago that people were ashamed and afraid to talk about their credit and to ask for advice or to situations and just even reach out to get the help that they need. And now you see that more and more people are talking about it. And not only are people talking about it, they're educating themselves and they're educating others. And we see that they're educating children so that when our children grow up, they don't have to go through the same struggles. So that's just what I see, just my perspective on dealing with finances. So it's great to see everyone trying so hard to improve things, because it is possible. And with the use of the credit scores, it is a way to do that. Used to be, people thought financing was risk-based, or they assessed their situation. And technically, that's still happening, but it's not so much that you're being discriminated against. Now you are empowered and able to make those decisions for yourselves. And you know pretty much from your score, if you pull your score and you've got a score of 500, you know you need to do things a little bit differently. If you know you've got a score of 700, you know that you're good. So now we have the tools out there to help us improve our situation and improve our lives. And I still have not forgotten about your investing tips and ideas for our show. There will be one coming up, so stay tuned. Be sure that you're tuning back in, staying in contact with us, so that if you've got some questions or problems, you can reach out to a counselor and get the help that you need. Again, 800-994-3328 to find the help that you need. Family Credit's website is a great resource, so please keep that in case you need it. Go to familycredit.org and you'll be able to find the assistance that you need. Again, there's help out there, you just have to find it. Then tune back in next week. Maybe we'll do that show that you've been asking for on investments too. But we're always looking for ways to improve things, to make ourselves better, to keep our financial situation in control, and to make sure we're doing the right things. So if you've got any other questions, feel free to tune back in next week. Until then, take care.